Listening is an act of love. Thank you. You can help lift up the voices, stories, and challenges we share by making a contribution at thiswayout.org.
A sincere thank you to all of you who already support This Way Out. Your support matters.
I'm John Dyer V.
And I'm Paula Thomas.
With NewsWrap, a summary of some of the news in or affecting LGBTQ communities around the world for the week ending May 29th, 2021. 21 queer activists in training are under arrest in the city of Ho, Ghana, charged with unlawful assembly. They were meeting in a hotel room to discuss how to advance LGBTQ rights. Based on a local tip, the media reportedly got there first, and police followed. The evidence that the group was there to promote LGBTQ rights included leaflets entitled Coming Out and All About Trans. Ironically, the group Rightify Ghana had organized the meeting to teach new recruits how to document and report human rights abuses against queer Ghanaians. The 16 women and 5 men in custody have been denied bail until their first appearances before a judge on June 4th. A statement on the arrests from Ghana's police command warned parents in particular to be wary of activities of persons involved in this misbehavior and report them to the police. The global queer rights group Outright Action International and the Ghanaian NGO Alliance for Equality and Diversity each called for the immediate release of the detainees. The Western African nation's crackdown on advocacy has been stepping up since a government raid in early February shuttered the new Accra offices of LGBT+ Rights Ghana and forced its leadership into hiding. Private consensual adult sex between men is illegal, unnatural carnal knowledge in Ghana. Offenders can be sentenced up to 3 years in prison. In Thailand, another local tip sent police to a Bangkok sauna where 62 men were detained for drug possession and debauchery. They were officially charged with violating the Southeast Asian country's strict COVID-19 lockdown regulations. Multiple sources reported the event as an often risky chemsex party, with the chem being certain drugs like GHB and methamphetamine, and the sex between consenting gay men.
2 queer couples challenged Namibia's refusal to recognize their marriages performed legally in another country. In each case heard in Windhoek High Court this week, one of the spouses is a Namibian citizen. The gay male couple was married in South Africa in 2015, and the lesbian couple tied the knot in Germany in 2017. The men also want their marriage legally recognized in Namibia so that the South African-born spouse can live there with his husband and their adopted son and work without having to apply for permits. The attorney representing both couples stressed that the case was not about marriage equality in Namibia, but about the recognition of marriages legally performed elsewhere. He claimed that nothing in the Constitution or Namibian law prevents it. Lawyers for the government pointed to a 20-year-old Supreme Court ruling that rejected marriage equality. They said any changes in marriage statutes should be left to the legislature of the South African nation. A statement issued by the 3-judge panel suggests that the Windhoek High Court's decision may not be announced until January 2022, although it could come sooner.
German lawmakers have voted to compensate service members who were discriminated against because of their sexual orientation. Out gay and lesbian personnel were banned by the military before July of 2000. Parliament created a compensation fund of 6 million euros, equivalent to more than $7 million. The legislation also allows service members who were prosecuted because of their sexual orientation before the ban was lifted to have their criminal records expunged. Activists applauded what they called an important step toward justice, but they complain that the measure doesn't go far enough. Patrick Dahr of the Lesbian and Gay Association in Germany explained that the law is limited to symbolic compensation and does not cover all discrimination that has taken place.
Lawmakers in Spain rejected a bill that would have allowed trans people to legally change their gender without medical or psychological approval. 143 members of the Congress of Deputies voted against the proposed law for real and effective equality of transgender people. There were 78 votes in favor, with a shameful 120 abstentions. The bill would have allowed non binary and blank gender designations on government IDs. According to a March report by the Associated Press, the ruling government's deputy minister expressed concerns that extending trans rights could undermine the rights of women and other groups. Human Rights Watch called the bill's failure a missed opportunity to advance trans rights and to acknowledge the rights and dignity of people who do not identify with a rigid gender binary. The organization's press release charged that the vote has set LGBTI rights in Spain back 10 years. Nevertheless, some Spanish trans activists express optimism about the bill's eventual passage before the current legislative session ends.
Equality activists actually won a round this week for trans young people under attack by Republican-controlled U.S. state legislatures. With chanting supporters waving trans pride flags from the Texas House Gallery, the deadline to pass a bill banning trans athletes from competing in school sports came and went. The bill had passed in the state Senate, but narrowly failed to make it out of the House's Public Education Committee in early May. Far-right Republican Governor Greg Abbott would no doubt have celebrated being able to put another anti-queer notch in his belt.
50 current and former college athletes are urging the National Collegiate Athletic Association to pull championship events out of states that have passed laws banning transgender competitors. Their letter to the Board of Governors this week comes on the heels of letters from the queer advocacy groups GLAAD and Athlete Ally that also point to the NCAA's history. It pulled a number of basketball tournament events out of North Carolina in 2016 after the state enacted the first modern-day bathroom bill regulating where transgender people may seek relief. However, the NCAA recently announced that Division I softball championship games would be held in 3 states that have enacted prohibiting transgender athletes from school sports. The letter from more than 4 dozen college athletes cited the Board of Governors' own recent policy statements affirming the rights of transgender people to compete and pledging to keep tournament events out of states with anti-LGBT laws. The signers demand to know, what changed? Why did our rights matter 5 years ago, but not today? Your actions speak louder than your words. It remains to be seen how long the NCAA can stay silent.
Meanwhile, 4 young trans people and their families filed suit against the state of Arkansas this week, challenging its new ban on gender-affirming healthcare for minors. The ACLU is representing the families, as well as 2 doctors who could be penalized for breaking the first-of-its-kind law. Virtually every other anti-trans bill passed by Republican lawmakers and governors across the U.S. has or will be challenged in court as unconstitutional.
Swimming against the Republican legislative tide, Nashville, Tennessee's Democratic chief prosecutor announced this week he would specifically not enforce an anti-trans law gleefully signed by Republican Governor Bill Lee. It requires businesses to post warning signs outside their bathrooms if they allow transgender people to use them. Glenn Funk is District Attorney General of Tennessee's 20th Judicial District, which includes Nashville. Every person is welcome and valued in Nashville, Funk said. Enforcement of transphobic or homophobic laws is contrary to those values. My office will not promote hate.
Finally, White House Deputy Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre made a bit of history this week.
Hi, everybody. Okay, good to see everyone. We have a couple of things for you guys at the top.
Filling in for White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki, Jean-Pierre became only the 2nd African-American woman and the first ever out lesbian to lead a White House press briefing. According to the Washington Blade, when asked about her groundbreaking appearance, Jean-Pierre said, "I appreciate the historic nature, I really do, but I believe being behind this podium is not about one person. It's about what we do on behalf of the American people. Clearly, the president believes representation matters. And it's another reason we're all so proud this is the most diverse administration in history." Axios has reported that Psaki plans to leave the press secretary position in a year. So as her current deputy, Karine Jean-Pierre could eventually make even more history as Psaki's successor.
That's NewsWrap, Global Queer News with Attitude, for the week ending May 29th, 2021. Follow the news in your area and around the world. An informed community is a strong community.
NewsWrap is written by Greg Gordon, edited by Lucia Chappelle, produced by Brian DeShazer, and brought to you by you.
Help keep us in ears around the world at thiswayout.org, where you can also read the text of this newscast and much more.
And you can read the transcript and listen to NewsWrap each week by subscribing to our This Way Out radio channel on YouTube. For This Way Out, I'm John Dyer V. Stay healthy.
And I'm Paula Thomas. Stay safe.
This Way Out delivers LGBTQ news and culture to more than 150 local communities on radio stations around the world. And we are also a free online news service. You can choose your favorite way to listen, online or on the air, at thiswayout.org. Please sign up for our free e-newsletter inside This Way Out. We'll respect your trust in us and make sure your personal information is never shared with others.
Just send us an email at info@thiswayout.org to receive the informative and unique addition to the show. You'll be invited to join us for a more in-depth look into our stories and be encouraged to learn more about This Way Out's 3 decades of broadcast activism.
Find out about our upcoming virtual Pride event, James Baldwin, a This Way Out teach-in, live streaming on Instagram and YouTube, June 25th, 2021.
I want to make it absolutely clear that I am talking to you as Jimmy Baldwin, who was born in Harlem 39 years ago, not as an organizer, and not as a Negro leader, and not as a public figure, not as any of those things, but as one of the poets that you produced.
We hope you choose to join us in celebration of LGBTQ history and culture. Email us at info@thiswayout.org to join the movement. We'll make sure you always know what's going on inside This Way Out. Thank you.